then, and seems Apex George is still in the lead of the Grand Prix, so Calvin has pitted, he's done a P13, so he has lost so much time by staying out there on the medium compound tyres, but it could pay dividends later on, so watch out for him. Matty defended from Klausner going in towards the left-hander of Cobbs, he did undercut him, and off the track goes Keith, and Keith is on another set on the medium compound tyres, so optimistic, audacious strategy going on as Wakey Joe has retired in the pit lane. So he is out of the Grand Prix. It's the first retirement as we see both Ferraris swapping places as you expect. Keith now goes up into P7 ahead of Klausner. So good teamwork once again. There is no point for Klausner to hold up his teammate, especially while it's the mini compound tyres. So some people in this race are attempting a two-stop strategy, and we'll see if that pays dividends later on or not. But Apex George, well, he's going for pure pace rather than tyre management. Let's see if it pays dividends for him later on the Grand Prix. Sonic Hawk is up to P3, but we did know he's pitching again. Oh, he spins in the pit lane, and he resets the track as well. I just caught that as he went for a little bit of a spin, but luckily he saved the car, and now luckily keeps going in the right direction. No footwind damage indeed, and no penalty for speed in the pit lane too. That could have gone horribly wrong there as well. They should have flagged for some reason out there too. That's because of the Alpine driver's car who just came out of the pit lane as he just retired in the race. So Keith is who's that off the track? Oh, it's the Alpine. Keith in P6 then on the back of the Red Bull driver. Let's see how difficult this would be if Keith gets stuck. If Keith gets stuck behind these guys on the mini compound tyres, and unfortunately strategy would have worked as well because he was able to capitalise on his mini compound tyres to go through this pack and try and build up a gap before he goes up to the hard compound tyres. So he desperately needs to get past these guys on these hard compound tyres. Mr. Wiggles as well is on the same strategy. So a lot of people in this race are tempted to stop. I didn't realise the tyre wear was this bad, but we'll see if anybody manages to one stop and if they're brave or not. I could see Ronnie and Havlar doing a one-stop strategy on the hard compound tyres. George definitely has to do a two-stop, so when he pits onto a set of hard compound tyres, we'll definitely have to try and catch up towards Havlar and Ronnie with about 10 laps to go in this race. But he should have monstrous pace, especially with the pace advantage he's had so far in clear air and on new tyres as well. Keith looking, trying to get past Matty, but there's nowhere through, and the longer he stays behind him, the worse it gets for his tyres as well. So he needs to use his tyres to his advantage to peak grip before it starts to fade away, and therefore put a little disadvantage in P6 there. So it's not going well for Keith at all in P6 there. The Ferrari just being stuck behind Matty, Wiggles and Havlar in P3.
12 laps remaining in this race. I think a lot of the drivers are on the two-stop, but if there's one man who can do a one-stop, it definitely is Calvin, because he went such a long way on the mediums, and I think he can make it to the end, but he's almost a full pit stop behind. The two Ferraris swap positions again, so Klausner now back ahead of Keith, so Keith's maybe already starting to feel the effects of the tire after only 4 laps. On the mediums I wonder, but that looks like Klausner is looking a bit more comfortable, but now he might be one of the drivers that could do maybe a one-stop as well, because he pitted quite late onto the hards, but still would have to do a 17 lap stint on the hard tyres, which would be quite difficult. Up ahead, that's Matty going quite wide through Cobb's corner, which allows Klausner to get ahead of him before the braking zone. And now Klausner is into 5th place and looking at a potential podium, because it is Havlar who is holding up this entire train. Up ahead is Mr. Wiggles. Now he's on the medium tires as well, and he might be starting to feel the effects of the tires. So might be able to get ahead soon as Keith now gets ahead of Matty. He was one of the first drivers to pit onto the hard tires, so he might be starting to struggle with his tires as well, as Klausner has completely closed the gap now towards these two. Now the question is, when will he be able to make that move and get ahead of these two, as he gets right underneath the wearing of the Aston Martin. But turn 1 is such an awkward place to make a move to overtake, and I don't think he's going to be able to do that, so he's going to have to sit behind for at least this sequence of corners, as that is Mr. Wiggles going a little bit wide, might pick up a track limit with that, so have to be careful not to do that too many times in this race. But now the problem for Klausner is that the Aston Martin has got DRS himself, so it's going to be super difficult to try and overtake as the Aston Martin of Doran, unfortunately picking up a 3-second time penalty, and he's down in P11, not really the race that he was hoping for, as Mr. Wiggles also not quite able to make any moves on Havlar, and half the moment has to sit behind in P4. The gap between the top two was 8 seconds, but it still has stayed about 8 seconds. It has been for the last few laps, which is quite surprising, because we saw that Apex George made his pit stop from hards to mediums after only 8 laps, and now he's 6 laps into the stint on the mediums, and his lap times aren't that bad. So definitely seems like his tire management is starting to pay off in the second stint, though he has underfueled the car, so he has to do some fuel saving as well, I think, in this final stint. So has to keep some things in mind. But he will do another lap on these mediums, so definitely think he will be able to pull off this strategy if he does some tire saving on his final hard stint, which will come in a few laps time, as Havler is still able to get in front, stay ahead of the Aston Martin and the two Ferraris. Following closely, which of these drivers is going to be the first one to go to the pit lane? It is Mr. Wiggles. After 7 laps on the mediums, he will pull into the pit lane for his final stint. He's going to have to do 10 or 11 laps on the hard tires, as Matti into the pit lane as well, but picks up a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. MCFC in the Alpine, also his pit stop after only 8 laps on the hard tires. Mr. Wiggles, onto the hards he will go, and definitely will gain quite a few positions being in that DRS train with this undercut. So looking to get into the clean air and hopefully get ahead of those guys and stay in front of them with some good tire saving in the final stint. So that has released Klosser now to be just behind Havlor with the help of DRS. Can he get that move done? He's got a 2-lap tire advantage, so should feel some difference in pace compared to the McLaren driver, but can he utilize that to get ahead and put himself in clean air to optimize this stint on the hard tires? He's got DRS and slipstream, but he is a little bit too far behind to make the move in towards Luffield. But looks like he's definitely lining up a move to get past the McLaren driver quite soon, as Apex Shorts is starting to lose a bit more time now towards Ronnie. The gap's just over 7 seconds. Now 7 laps on the hard, on the mediums. Definitely seems like the best of those mediums has been done on this stint, and he's going to pull into the pit lane. Our race leader into the pit lane. It is Apex George. He's going to have to do 10 laps on the hard tires, which should be doable with some tire saving. So that allows Ronnie now to get back into the lead of the race, but he is on 9 lap old hard tires, and he can already see the graining on the front right there as Klosser gets ahead of Havler. Could get a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Definitely not the first driver to do so, but that is really going to hurt his chances of getting on the podium in this race. That is so unfortunate for the McLaren driver indeed, as Keeves into the pit lane as well after he went into the mediums for his second stint, goes onto the hard. So it looks like all of these drivers are on a 2-stop, except maybe Calvert, of course. He made that pit stop very late. He's now into P3 in another podium position, but the problem for him is that the cars behind him will all have a great tire advantage for this final stint, and he might struggle to make it to the end of the race. Apex Shores has just come out behind the Mercedes driver around 2 seconds, so we should get ahead of the Mercedes quite soon and then be back in clean air. Now the question is, can Ronnie or Klosser or either of them make it to the end on these hard tires? I think it's going to be a very difficult task, and I think that even those two drivers might have to go for a 2-stop just to be safe and not risk getting a puncture in those final few laps, which would be great news for Apex George in his charts to what could be his first win of the season. Havlor has come up behind Mr. Wiggles, so the undercut has worked for the Aston Martin, and the great news for Mr. Wiggles is that the driver behind him, both drivers behind him in fact, have got a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so he won't have to worry about fighting those drivers and can just focus purely on managing the tires till the end, as our new race leader Ronnie into the pit lane. So he is not going to do the 1-stop, and neither is Klosser, so both into the pit lane at the end of lap 17 to what should be another set of hard tires, and think to make it to the end of the race, and it is indeed for Ronnie. So Calvert now, I think he is the only driver to go for the 1-stop, and he comes into the lead of this race by lap 18.
I never realised how bad the tyre wear was. Now Calvert leads the Grand Prix, but can he take these tyres towards the end? Definitely not by doing that massive wheel spin at the exit to turn 3 there, but Apex George is right behind. Apex George has been looking comfortable so far in this race, and now he's putting the Mercedes under huge pressure. This should be taking Caddy like a baby with the DRS, fresher tyres, slipstream, and he gets past and he takes the lead of the Grand Prix. This has gone superbly well for the Red Bull driver. Hasn't looked back since his pit stops, and he has the pace to try and beat them all as well. This has been a great race for Apex George. Has finally shown his mettle as the British driver, and he will not be challenged at all. I don't think there's nobody out there that can challenge challenge him. This race is his, and it should be towards the end of the Grand Prix. Even safety cars, I don't think will ruin his race either, because he's just had the pure pace to beat everybody, and he's definitely a driver to be contended as well as Calvert. Now, let's see if Calvert can defend in P2. Will he have a chance of a podium? The gap between him and Mr. Wiggles is about 13 seconds, I think, so maybe a chance of a podium for Calvert. Depends if his tyres can make the distance towards the end. He did take those mediums a mighty long way. It seems like everybody in this race has gone for a two-stop strategy, and that was the way to go, except the man in P2 and except Energy Dan, who is running in P15. But I think Energy Dan could be coming towards the end of his stint as well. He's on the hardcore part tyres, so about 6 more laps left to go after this. But Calvert, I don't think there's no point for him pitting no more, because he'll just drop down all the way into, let's say, about P11, I think, so outside the points. So I think it's a gamble to take these tyres towards the end as well, to see if he can try and finish in P2. It's all or nothing now for Calvert. Let's see if his strategy pays off by going long on the mini compound tyres and sacrificing a bit of pace on the first stint to make these hards go towards the end. And he could be the tyre whisperer here in P2. It may not be about winning a race, but it's picking up some good points as well in the Mercedes to finish in second place. He started down in P5 and now up into P2. And Ronnie is well chasing him down there. The gap between him and himself is 8.2 seconds. There's about 7 laps left to go in the race, so maybe a second lap. Ronnie needs to try and get Calvert. If he can do it, he should do it on those new hardcore power tyres. But I think Calvert's main concern is Mr. Wiggles in P4, because there's a bit of a gap between himself and Mr. Wiggles there, so may have a bit of a breathing room space between himself, a bit of a buffer. So I don't think he's worried about Ronnie so much, but maybe Mr. Wiggles in P4. Can Mr. Wiggles hunt down and chase Calvert for the final spot on the podium, or will Calvert get his second podium in a row, which means that he's won the race in Australia and got a podium here in Silverstone too, which is a very good track record indeed. I think he finished P5 back in Monaco, so he's collected some good points so far this season. And got to remember as well, there's only 10 races as well. I say this every single time in PSGR, because when you have only 10 races in a season, you can ill afford any mistakes whatsoever. Just like this one, Pep1 goes off the track and almost hits the Williams there too for good measure. I'm not quite sure what happened to him, but he's cutting the grass there in Brooklands on Luffield and rejoins on the P12. But in a short season like this, you can ill afford any mistakes. And I know that people like, let's say, George has made mistakes back in Australia too, and I don't think Monaco finished in P3, and now he's about to win the Grand Prix, so he's made one mistake so far back in Australia, whereas the two Ferrari drivers who were top in Monaco with a 1-2 are now down in P7 and P8. That's what I love about every single race, because every single race anything could change and spice up. And in Division 2, nothing is certain, nothing's on the script whatsoever, because these guys as well having different skill sets in different races. One race they can thrive, and one race they can fall. And certainly the two Ferrari drivers in P7 and P8, they were first and second in Monaco, are certainly not showing the decent pace they had in the 7th day play. Dylan says, Jamie, alles goed. Ja, ik ben het goed met jou, dankjewel. Hopefully you're doing well as well. Dylan trying to speak English and Dutch at the same time never works. But there was 6 laps left to go in this race, and Ronnie is taking chunks out of Calvert's time. Here comes Klaus up the inside in towards Luffield. He goes up into P6 now, ahead of Matty in P7. A decent race for Matty in the Red Bull, but he does have a penalty over his shoulders and have to carry the weight towards the end of the race too. So let's see if Matty can finish inside the points there for Red Bull. McLaren driver Havlar is now P5, but Klausner is right behind him on a new set mini compound tyres and could well be in his range to overtake him for that penalty range in P5 as well. So Havlar's P5 is under jeopardy now. Is someone trying to one-stop? Yes. The man in P2 is trying to one-stop indeed. The gap is 5.6 seconds there. He's taking his mini compound tyres a long way in this Grand Prix. 10 laps. It's his mini stint, and he seems to be doing okay so far. Stable pace, not dropping off too much. Obviously it's the leader, because the leader has got a massive pace advantage. He's been quick from the get-go and has never looked back. But Calvert's main concern is probably Mr. Wiggles in P4, and Ronnie is gaining over a second lap as well, so Calvert needs to be careful, and I really hope for Calvert's sake he does not receive a puncture, so he got to manage those tyres and treat them nicely as well, but whilst trying to keep Mr. Wiggles behind. So a lot of work to do for Calvert's shoulders in P2. They're trying to keep Ronnie at bay, but still finish on the podium if he can There is 5 laps left to go. I think it's inevitable that Ronnie is going to catch Calvin. That's going to be for sure, because the gap was like 5.2 and now it's 3.9. So that's over a second gain already. You can see him really struggling and crawling on his hardcore power tyres. So he may be in a bit of a struggle towards the end of this race to try and hold on to this podium in P2.
Indeed, you said he gains over a second lap. In fact, on the last lap, Ronnie was 2.2 seconds quicker than Calvert, and I think he will be on this lap as well. He's gaining so much time on each and every single lap. I think Calvert is starting to focus on conserving those tires. You can see the graining on the front right there, and we will take a look at his lap time. On this lap as we go on to lap 22, it's a 32.1 for the Mercedes and it's a 30.5 for Ronnie in the McLaren. So almost 2 seconds gained once again on this lap. Like I said, I think it is a matter of time and before he gets ahead, but the buffer towards Mr. Wiggles is still around 8 seconds, and I don't think that Mr. Wiggles will be able to catch him in time unless Calvert of course gets a puncture or needs to drive extremely slowly to prevent a puncture in these final few laps. But like I said, the trouble for him would be with Mr. Wiggles and Havelaar. Of course, Havelaar's got a time penalty, so won't have to worry about finishing behind them off track, but on track these two are getting close. Now if these two can work together, they might be able to catch up, but at the moment Ronnie, he is 1.9 seconds behind. I don't think anyone is going to be able to chase after Apex George. He's done an incredible job all race long and looking to take his first win of the season to put him in championship contention, as he has been looking so incredibly strong tonight. But now Ronnie, the gap is down to 1.5 seconds. I think on the next lap we will see a change of second place. I don't think Calvert would want to fight against the McLaren, because that would only take much more out of his tires, which are already struggling at this stage, as the gap is around 7.3 seconds towards Mr. Wiggles. So Mr. Wiggles, he himself is gaining a lot of time as well on Calvert, but I think he needs to gain around 2 seconds on each lap to get close to the Mercedes on the final lap as we go on to lap 23 of this race. And Calvert across the line 32.7, so losing a lot of time once again on this lap. We'll see what Mr. Wiggles is doing in P4. He is in the low 31, so gaining around 1.5 seconds on this lap. So definitely needs to hope that the tires fall off even more for the Mercedes driver. But here comes Ronnie now. He's going to have DRS for the first time in this final stint. Will he be able to take the position away immediately as he gets very close to the back of Calvert, who is not defending at all? He knows what time it is, and Ronnie is going to take away that second place on the outside, runs into the grass a little bit, but he is taking away that second place. And now Calvert is going to have to be looking backwards. He will get the DRS off the back of Ronnie, which is going to help him down the next straight, but I think after that Ronnie will completely drive away from that Mercedes, because he is driving so very slowly to conserve those tires in these final few laps. The gap is 6 seconds between Calvert and Mr. Wiggles, and we've got 3 laps remaining, so 2 seconds a lap is what Mr. Wiggles needs to gain on the Mercedes in order to be close on the final lap. But you can really see how much rubber is coming off those tires of the Mercedes on the fronts and the rears as well. So he's having to do it incredibly slowly as Keeves is fighting it out with MCFC for P8 and P9. So Keeves dropping behind a little bit. He was close to his teammate Clusher, who was on the mediums. I just noticed that as well, that he went for a 2-stop with 2 sets of mediums and instead of hard tires, which I'm not really sure why he would go for that. But he definitely seems like he's got the pace advantage over his teammate at least. And Keeves seems to be struggling, our previous race winner, down in P8, fighting it out with MCFC, though he will finish ahead of Matti probably, who's got a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. We've got 3 laps remaining. Mr. Wiggles 5 seconds behind. Can he gain that time, or will it be Calvert with an incredible drive to take away another podium this season?
Indeed, look at MCFC's tyres as well. Melissa says Keith has a broken wing. He does there on the end plate, which is missing. So that's why it's lacking some pace there down in PM. I'm not quite sure who he made contact with, but unfortunately it's detrimental for him, and he has lost significant time to his rivals, and MCFC is ready to pass the Night Creed. Well done to him in P10, but he's got Prep 1 and Durham right behind as well, although he doesn't have a 3-second time penalty. Could save a P10, sorry. But yes, MCFC has received a puncher on the right front, and his fight with Keith has been called off. So a puncher towards the end of this race. What about Klausler at P6? Klausler is chasing Havelaar down, but Could his tyres be in jeopardy towards the end as MCFC is crawling to a halt there as he suffers with a puncture? Remember back in 2013, we suffered with so many punctures. 2020 at the British GP, when we the first one, indeed, the first British GP, there was 2 of them in the 70th anniversary as well. But Hamilton received a puncture, Bottas received a puncture, and he lost the podium too for good measure. MCFC is following down the order as we know he's stuck in the gravel now. I think Carlos Sainz also received a puncture too, and a few more along the way. But 2013 was the main one because Perez in practice received a puncture, and in the race many more to come. Lewis Hamilton, the pole sitter, received a puncture, didn't he? And lost the lead of the Grand Prix. The Vettel, my favourite driver, I was hoping for him to win, but unfortunately had a alternator failure and he retired from the British GP. And then Nico Rosberg went on to win as well, to win for his first British GP for Mercedes. And yeah, that race was controversial indeed because many people suffered a puncture. Perez twice as well, and I think Fernando Alonso almost got hit by discarded rubber, a discarded tyre flying off the back of the Lotus, or was it the Taurus at the time? I'm not quite sure who it was at the time, but Felipe Massa was also one of them too. But there is 2 laps left to go in this race, and Mr. Wiggles is 2.6 seconds. Can Carver survive? Can he make it towards the end? And Mr. Wiggles is driving off the track there too. He's got Havlor right behind. That's the last thing he needs. There's contact between both of them. Mr. Wiggles is trying to get a podium, but he's got somebody behind him, which is the last thing he needs in his bid to get a podium for the second time this season. So he's hoping that Havlor doesn't fight him, especially with the 3-second time penalty. But Mr. Wiggles is 1.8 behind. The Mercedes is right in front of him. He's really struggling on his hard compound tires. I thought he would be saved, but no, he could be in jeopardy towards the end, and his podium could be lost. All the hard work could be undone. Mr. Wiggles is right there as well. Klausner is right behind Havlor as well, so watch out for him in the Ferrari. He could be very quick as well. But this is the last lap of the Grand Prix. Can Calvert survive in P3? The gap is 1.5 seconds. The Brit in P4 chasing for into the podium, and we'll see. With a gap of 1.3, can he overtake Calvert to claim a second podium this season? Can Calvert survive? Klausner gets ahead of Havlor. He puts himself into P5, so his tyres are not looking too shabby there on the Ferrari. May not be in peak condition, but they're still good enough on the Ferrari to get some overtakes done, especially in Havlor's old hard compound tyres. Now, Mr. Wiggles, he doesn't have DRS, but he does have the tyre advantage. This is the battle for the podium. Look at Mercedes. He's crawling. He's struggling. He's got no speed at all. There is no grip on those tyres. Those tyres are shredded. Those tyres are done. They won't pass an MOT test. And now Mr. Wiggles can sense the podium. I don't think Calvert can defend this because there's a long way to go still. Even though it's the last lap of the Grand Prix, there's still a lot more corners. And these slow speed corners, Calvert will not have the grip. Mr. Wiggles now with the DRS open. Can he force a lunge on the inside? Nope, he's too far back. He can't make the move, but there's still more chances. But Calvert's defending for his dear life. Let's see if he can get the exit he needs out of these slow speed corners. He's cutting the inside line, but Mr. Wiggles there may have a chance, but Calvert gets a better exit on the outside. And Apex George will come across the line to win the British GP. The Brit has come on top, and Mr. Wiggles is still fighting away with Calvert. Calvert's trying to defend the inside line as much as he can. Mr. Wiggles goes around the outside, but let's see if he has the grip to do so. Yes, he does. Mr. Wiggles takes away P3, and Calvert could not defend. Unfortunately for him, he tried his best, but Mr. Wiggles will finish on the podium in 3rd place. Calvert's 4th. Klausner is 5th place ahead of Havlor, who gets a 10-second time penalty. So does Batty. So I'm not quite sure why they got a penalty there. Unserved penalty. Oh, for speed in the pit lane, I think it was at the time. But Calvert, he must be so broken. He must be so disgruntled. And what a shame there as well. 1 lap too late. And he got served up in the final 3 corners of Mr. Wiggles. Mr. Wiggles is probably happy that Havlor wasn't scrapping away with him, because those two made contact in a fast speed corner on the woodcut, the left-hander, and it could have ended drama for Mr. Wiggles' chance to get a podium. But great drive from Mr. Wiggles. I think he got caught up in the first lap incident, if I'm not mistaken. But starts at P8, finishes in P3, and it's another podium in the bag. But all eyes goes towards Apex George, the man of the day. The man had pace from outset and has not been troubled since as well. And he's handled the pressure really, really well and managed the race with complete confidence of driver, in tune with both car and the circuit as well. And he has been. This is a statement. This is a statement for victory drive here for Apex George. He'll be very happy indeed. Ronnie as well. Great drive for him in P2 after being stuck in the hairpin at the Monaco Grand Prix to finish in P2 here in Silverstone. He'll be absolutely delighted with the drive as well. And Carvid, he rolled the dice on one-stop strategy and unfortunately did not work. He came so close, but he tried everything he could as well. Great sportsmanship for Carvid because he could have easily just kept blocking Mr. Wiggles there, pushing him off the track, but he didn't do it. He didn't force him off the track. He gave him enough space and enough room. I know many people, like probably myself and a few others in that situation, would have tried to just squeeze him off the track or give him no room. But Calvert definitely showed some good sportsmanship as well. So respect for him to not push Mr. Wiggles off the track, especially for a podium spot on the final lap.
What an incredible race, and what a well-deserved victory it is then for Apex George, taking those maximum points with pole position and the fast lap as well. Made no mistakes throughout this entire race and definitely deserved that top spot. And like you said, Ronnie with a great drive as well to take second place. And wow, what a move that was from Mr. Wiggles on the final lap, and Calvert just holding on to dear life with those tires. Unfortunately, just missing out on that podium spot, but still a remarkable drive. To be the only driver to pull off a one-stop strategy, with the Ferraris rounding off in 5th and 6th place to keep the consistency going this season. But it was a great race indeed, with lots of drama, lots of troubles, especially with the tires, and really enjoyed that one. And Apex George, well, definitely can be happy with that, as he drove perfectly from start to finish, and can definitely count himself in as a championship contender, that's for sure.
Indeed, then that is the end of the British GP. We move on to the Hungarian Grand Prix as well, a track that has been described in the past as Monaco with no wars. Obviously, it's got wars, but Monaco is a bit more. It's just difficult to overtake that track, isn't it? So we'll see how it all pays off. It could be another two-star race at the Hungarian Grand Prix, and we'll see what happens there as well. So thank you very much. And Sonic Hawk, if I remember correctly, did win the Hungarian Grand Prix in Division 2 a couple of seasons ago. It was a great drive as well, as I do have a bit of flashbacks there. But yeah, that rounds up the British GP, and despite our internet connection problems, which never cease to go, just keeps on happening. But we try our best every single time to make the stream, commentate, despite the problems we go through, especially with illness or internet connections. We keep going, we keep pushing no matter what. But yeah, it was certainly a joyous race to commentate. Even though there was no battles for first place, it can't always have those. Sometimes it could be a quiet race. But Milan, mate, my partner in crime, my Dutch co-commentator, it's been an absolute pleasure as always to commentate with you, mate. Ever since January 2025 or 4, it's been a pleasure to be alongside you.
Could not agree more, and really enjoyed it as always. A pleasure for me as well. So I'm looking forward to the next one, as I once again had a lot of fun tonight, despite the issues we faced. But I'm looking forward to the next one, mate.
Thank you. Enjoy the Monaco Grand Prix this weekend. We'll see who comes out on top. And for us, see you all later. Join Daniel back and also Keith for Division 1 tomorrow. Can Fireblaze make it 3 for 3? Fireblaze was the last winner of the British GP in Division 1 because I couldn't beat him. He was too quick. But we'll see